The next thing I wanted to talk about today, I feel like a lot of people saw it in the title and like they came in here cracking their knuckles, you know, they're just like, well. Melty defense versus Strive defense. I'm here to talk some shit. It's pretty interesting to compare the two of these games and like kind of how the conversation around defense in both of them has panned out, and I think will probably give you some nice perspective, particularly if you're new to fighting games or you're not, pay attention to how people talk about them. This is a pretty consistent thing. Strive came out, and everybody was playing Strive. They were all S-ing with the best of them, far slashing it up, and a lot of people eventually were like, dude, I can't finesse someone on defense. Like, the defensive options, they don't push block them. They don't give me infinite armor to fly through and twerk all over them. What am I supposed to do? All I can do is FD, IB, backdash, throw, reversal, YRC, etc. Like, I don't understand. I don't have anything good enough to help escape the offense in this game. Fast forward to Melty Blood. Melty Blood drops, and it's like, dude, how can a mortal get a crumb of offense? Like, low shield, which also covers mids. They're heating, blood heating. She got 2 backdashes for the price of 1. They got moon drive into the moon skills with all this armor over the place. They're like, dude, how can a man get I just want a crumb of offense. I categorize these games in 2 different classifications. Strive, I think, is a game where the defense has had to adjust for what the offense is doing, right? So whatever the offensive opponent is doing, people in Strive have had to sit down and find countermeasures, right? Like, okay, what do we do if this Ram player is doing this button into sword toss and they're doing this or whatever? What do we do when Soul is just doing far slash and a far? Like, what's my defensive option to deal with this? What do I do about this guy just mashing behemoth into behemoth into behemoth in front of my face? As a defensive player, you need to use your defensive tools to force the offensive player to think and adjust. Melty Blood is kind of the opposite, right? Where I feel like in the beginning of the game so far, it's more like the defensive tool. There's so many of them to start with that as the offensive player, instead of just building offense like you do in Strive, you just build whatever offense you want to do, and it's up to the defender to answer it. You have to like build your offense and then be like, how do I build my offense around shield and moon drive and heat and like all this kind of stuff? And you've seen already that people have been doing a ton of work into making that a reality. At a high level, a lot of the players are already coming up with OSs to cover all of these defensive options. You know, you do jab media, and then there's this OS that will cover all these different things, right? You can OS shield, or you can like jump cancel and then shield, and like there's all these different things people have come up with. They had to consider the defensive options and then create offense tailored to defeating specific defensive needs. It's like interesting to see them both because obviously the narrative is like Strive's defense trash, right? There's nothing you can do. Melty Blood comes out and everybody's like, dude, on defense, you literally just mash your face against the stick and you can get out of any pressure you want. But when you consider what's actually happening, both games are just kind of the opposite in how they're constructed and what people have to do to get into the meat of it. One thing that's interesting is that Strive players who are not near the high level or who are not practicing high level defense will say, I'm not using IB or IFD, or like I feel like my FD is not doing much, or et cetera, et cetera. Like my tools are not interacting in a way I want to use unless you practice them a lot. Similarly, I think like players in Melty Blood who don't use the OSs and don't like understand the different ways to bait shield and moon drive and heat and all these different options that are available will also feel like, man, this defense is so scrambly and so dumb, and like all this, like they just feel like they're not engaging with the defense in a way that feels good to them. So I think at a high level, players will solve the strong defense or the strong offense, and then or they'll attempt to solve it and come up with the best solutions. But at the mid level or lower especially, people will feel like, man, I'm just not engaging in this game in a way I want to. In both cases, it's interesting because I don't know that I think defense is weak in Strive. And also, I don't know that I think defense is super strong in Melty Blood. Besides like some of the unblockable stuff. When I watch Melty, I kind of think like, I wonder how good offense is long term. I don't think the defensive mechanics are necessarily going to be the issue to offense, but like I wonder about the offensive growth, about super strong unreactable mix-ups and how good they are, right? So that's what I'm waiting to see. Players still haven't come up with like real defense in some ways, right? Like the mechanics in the system are so strong that actually learning how to block and defend a lot of stuff, you're just kind of like, I'm going to heat, or I'm just going to do shield, or I'm just going to, you know what I mean? Like, you kind of just are like, I'm going to just do this strong option. We haven't really made it there yet. So when you see like definitive, like okay, moon drives in this game, you know, they gotta cost 120 billion% moon gauge, and moon skills need to have no armor, and they need to change that. Like, I see a lot of people going ham about changes that need that, like shields need to work like this, and it's gotta drain this. It's funny to me because even with all the knowledge that's been gathered so far, not even like further knowledge, I don't even think everybody is interacting with all of the knowledge in the game yet. And so like just to see everybody just like, you gotta change this, you gotta change this, you gotta nerf that, you get the moon this, the moon that, and it's like, man, it's really funny. When you guys watch Strive now, I'm sure you see, particularly at high level, people tend to IB very frequently. People tend to be very smart about their usage of FD. Like, you should just watch Lord Knight play. I feel like nobody gives you a better example literally with that character on how useful FD is than Lord Knight. Like, his FD looks great. He gets out of shit all the time. You're like, yep, he's really good at using the system mechanics of the game, and he understands them well, right? So yeah, I think it's very interesting to see the conversation around defense in both games. There's a reason that people came up with OSs so quickly on offense to deal with the defense. Nobody in Strive is like, what's my offense going to be like if someone IBs something consistently, or IFDs this or that? Like, I only have to think about it when I play like three or four people probably. Meanwhile, in Melty Blood, anybody could just torque on you with moon drive into moon skills or heat or whatever, right? Like, you're just like, okay. I like watching Melty because someone will do a shield clash and they'll win it, and I hear them sigh. It brings a smile to my face, you know? It's not about like whether shielding and the RPS behind it is like too cheap or too good or whatever. I think it's maybe whether the options available feel satisfying to people. I think that's the part that is the question to figure out. And like, if not, why is that? What's the part that people don't like about it? It's fun though. I think Melty is fun. Like, I'm not going to play it again until the online is fixed, but I have a lot of positive opinions about how the defense is, and like relative, you know, everybody else is like, the defense in this game is the worst thing. Like, why is it like this? I feel like if I played the game, I would probably have lots of less doomer things to say about it, but your influencers are who you got. You don't get to choose them. If their breakdown is just here's the drip, then that's what you get. I'm sorry. Listen, if you played Melty, you would have already made 2 videos that would have helped me understand Melty and fighting games in general a lot better. Sorry. If I played the game, I would have made videos about shield RPS and videos about moon drive and OSs and like ways to cover things and like all that. I would have done all that already, just the same way I did with gear. But, you know, instead it's like shield is broken with like a face next to it. I don't know what else people are making videos about. The shield option tier list, oh man, that's broken.